if you look at what happened, even just with Maxi and Hedron, it's not like you have to. It's the same. It's identical code. So it's the work required to support both is actually pretty minimal. Like the marginal additional work is actually tiny to support.
I think
both.
You'd be surprised. I think you'll be very surprised at that. So the reason why Hedron, Hex, Maxi, all those work really well is because they leverage off of Hex, and Hex has been built from the ground up to be true DeFi. So therefore they don't have any external references to anything else. So the only reference they've got is on blockchain to Hex. Whereas most other DeFi protocols don't fall into that category. Like there's a lot of things that are broken, and just by virtue of having stable coins as part of their ecosystem, and whether it's DAI or Maker or whatever, like they've got all these interdependencies that just mean they can't just flick a switch and everything's going to be sweet. It's not that simple. So as
soon as they have a stable coin that everyone agrees has value, then that's
you only need one. You only need one stable coin, like one decent stable coin.
Then you need everyone to come and I could be wrong, and they may come and do it, but my gut feel is knowing some conversations I've had being with the liquid loan stuff is there is very much a hardcore Ethereum group of devs.
People blow Vitalik.
They hate it.
This is why Ethereum as we knew it, the main Ethereum as we knew it, beat the more legitimate code is law Ethereum, was because Vitalik has got a cult following, and that. So I agree with you to a point. The Ethereum will always be considered, the proof of stake Ethereum will always be considered to be the main real Ethereum. But what I was saying to Matt is that the difference I see between, say, Bitcoin Cash, which was the first Bitcoin fork that had probably the best chance of any kind of decent survival, is that with that fork, people had to choose between the two because they were basically very similar other than a few small parameter changes, and different community and miners, although you can switch. Whereas over here, there's a legitimate point of difference is the proof of work versus proof of stake. We actually have ETH-W, and ETH-W currently has actually got lower fees and faster transactions, which is beating Ethereum.
The interesting thing.
That's the interesting thing, right? It's beating Ethereum to its own path, its own roadmap. The user
experience is better on ETH-W.
For Hex users.
Like it's quicker. No, or any Ethereum users really.
But I'm saying most things are broken at the moment. That's why your fees are low. So there's just not the volume of transactions going through.
Okay, maybe, but also, fees are low on. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
maybe, and we'll see what happens when they bring the stable coin in. But they're working on it.
Yeah, look,
it's kind of
if that comes in and that's a success, that's a big win. That is a big win, and that will give it a bit more legitimacy for sure.
But also makes you question, like, why is something more popular if this other thing is actually got a better user experience? Like, why wouldn't you just use
network
effect
user
experience?
Network effect.
I know, but
they've taken the network effect.
But really, it's like they're exactly the same. Like literally exactly the same, pretty much.
The only real community using the proof of work chain is the Hexagon community. Like we've shown that on chain with the transactions.
Fair.
It's insane. Like we've been gearing up for this very moment for over 12 months. Been on a test net, know what was going to happen. Like we're basically had a dry run on the test net for 12 months, and this was a gift where you can go your hardest and
so what do you think,
Bluey, I think the best example is actually NFTs. So I've been thinking about this, where with NFTs, the reason why they have the most value on Ethereum And when people try and do NFTs on Solana and NFTs on AVAX and NFTs on other chains, that they have fractional, like minuscule value in percentage terms. It's almost like everyone kind of has to agree which is the legitimate chain. So like a bit like in Bitcoin, you either all get some kind of consensus over what is the legitimate chain, or you admit that nothing has value. So it's kind of like this scary thing where people are like, well, if we admit that this other chain is kind of like the exact same shit, then where does it end? Where does it end? Because it's open source and it's forkable. And you saw what happened in Bitcoin. It just got forked into oblivion until no one gave a shit, right? There were Bitcoin forks that happened that you guys probably never even heard of. Like you could almost, no doubt, I reckon you could guess a word. And there's a Bitcoin that. Like there's Bitcoin Black, there's Bitcoin freaking Diamond, there's Bitcoin everything. And so I think that's part of why Ethereum, and now proof of stake Ethereum, has held its like crown as the real deal and where the value is. Look at how crazy high the fees have been, not just recently, throughout, CryptoKitties spiked the fees back, in 2016 or 2017 or whatever.
17.
It's like that, and this is why fee when a chain's narrative is we're like Bitcoin but with lower fees, or we're like Ethereum but with lower fees, it doesn't fly because people don't give a shit. They want to be on the chain that everyone agrees is the value chain.
Limit orders, real quick. You mentioned limit orders. There's a weird narrative that goes around in the community. I want to clarify something for everybody. Limit orders for purchasing are good, so you can jump in at a good wick. Limit orders for whales and sharks who are dumping, like you hear this in the Hex community. I wish that those big sellers set limit orders, and really that's not good, because then they're literally just creating a price ceiling and extracting the most amount of money from everybody else.
Listen to the end.
Where if instead they just market dumped and they ate a bunch of slippage, they're extracting the least amount of value from everyone else. And it leaves these opportunities for other people who have limit order purchases able to jump in and capitalize.
It makes redistribution better. And that's why I said, like, having the like 4 sharks, like, we have a lot of sharks that stake, like 30 days, 50 days, whatever. Having a few of them come out and having that massive redistribution of over 1 billion coins to new people in the community who are going to hold 10 to 15 years, I think that's like, that would be very healthy.
Okay. Now, I'm going to get Wales in on this one too, okay? I know what I heard from Jesse just now, but he only dealt with one scenario, and that's not the one that I mentioned. What I'm telling everybody is, these sharks that will not jump into the meat grinder that Jesse recommends to take a bath on slippage think that they're wise by sitting there manually and dumping 30 grand worth of hex every 15 minutes and not letting the price go back up. That's what I'm saying is bullshit for the market. Am I right, Wales?
No, it's just bullshit for the price for you to look at. I mean, if the shark went ahead, let's say you have a shark that has, 5 million hex. No, that's a little bit low, right? Let's say 20 million. And he dumps it all in one market order. That's Jesse's point. Yes. Like, if he sells immediately, then it's like done deal, it's gone. Whatever.
Ripping off the Band-Aid. I get it. Yeah, but he also says, but what smart shark, like a shark that believes that they're smart, well, no shark that's dumping is smart, but I'm saying that a shark that believes that they're smart is always going to shy away from a huge slippage just to get it off. They believe that they're going to save on that by simply letting the price come back up to them, supposedly, and then dump little bits. But what they should do, and this is my suggestion, is they should put in some limit orders as a ladder, not in one big freaking wall, right? That's what Jesse was saying was the narrative. That's never what I said. I said they ought to, put in a nice, healthy little ladder at first, allow that to get digested, and then put in another ladder. That way they can get the best bang for their buck. The distribution takes place. A lot of people nip at it over time, and the price chart doesn't look like dog shit, which scares away little minnows, right? little plebs that want to get in. You could say, wow, they're getting a greater price, but unless it falls and it stays level for a while and allows us to do our onboarding, they're never going to jump in because they see it's like a falling knife. Am I right or am I right, Wales?
Yeah, I agree with that latter point of view. I got to tell you, I've never heard that point of view iterated ever. Like, I get it, because what you're doing is you're hampering the quantity that the person exiting is getting. But I just don't get the logic, right? I mean,
you mean Jesse's comment?
Yeah, Jesse's comment. I don't get the logic, because at the end of the day, it's just like you said. You just scare them. If your objective is to drive the price lower, to buy lower, then you do shit like that.
Sure.
Right? Because you do want to scare people out of the way to drive the price lower. If your objective is to profit, then maybe you want to profit. I don't really know why that's complicated, but that's kind of the way I cut it.
I think what Jesse was talking about is not, of course, if they want to have the most value for them, the whales themselves, putting a limit order up, of course, is the best play, or a ladder of limit orders like Papa said. But for us that are buying, or new people buying,
new people are going to be scared, bro. They're not going to be enticed
exactly.
By that. They're not going to be enticed by a falling knife.
Yeah, but if we go past the scary narrative, imagine that you yourself believe in X and you have a limit order at 2 cents or 3 cents or whatever. Your limit order will never get filled unless someone clicks the sell button, right? Because if both sides have limit orders, the price doesn't move, right? For the price to move, a market buy or market sell must be made. And I believe that's what Jesse's point was. If they are clicking the sell button, people are able to fill their limit orders lower where they wouldn't be able to otherwise. I think that was his point. If we go past all the fear narrative and people seeing the price go down, make them go away.
Jesse said one big dump, one big market sell, huge. Like put into right now we're dealing with not with whales with 20 million. We're dealing with sharks with 200 million hex at a time. And they're just kind of flipping the switch every 15, 20 minutes. You can see it on the 1 minute. You can see exactly
if you're just going to do that, it's probably a lot better for you to just create a limit orders. Just them to be clicking every 30 minutes.
The right thing that should be happening is that nobody should be pushing the market around, right? That's the optimal reality. Nobody should be pushing the market around.
I am okay with the market.
Hey, it's not about you, Das. That's not about you, Das. I said the optimal reality. The optimal reality is that it's just monotonic. The optimal reality is that it just goes up. That's what people want to see. Nobody wants to see volatility. That's a fact. That's a fact, right? That's not an opinion. That's what everybody wants to see. So, with that being said, the optimal reality is that everybody is not necessarily market buying, market selling, but placing their order entries where they want it. And the short-term players are the ones market buying and market selling. You know, these other fiat currencies have to start defending themselves against the dollar because it's inflicting that much pain.
How high do you set the pain threshold? Because
we're already at it.
Are we though? Historically,
when central banks
much higher, right?
Yes, but that doesn't matter. You're missing the point. When central banks start throwing money out at the problem, it becomes evident that they no longer have control, and that's the point. Now it's just how long can they hold on until they have to tap out, and the market finally reverses. That like if you look back at 2012, it could take a long time.
Oh, buy in November and then sell in May and go away. Is that correct?
I don't know it to be that in its entirety. Actually, I've never heard that. It might be.
Yeah, but sell in May and go away for sure. I thought that the buying season is November.
If I remember correctly, the stock market usually plunges on average more often in the third quarter, which is right now. Mm-hmm. So even if suddenly we have quantitative easing again, I don't think we would immediately pump. and it would take at least another 2-3 months or so for the markets to rejuvenate.
You know, things happen in this part of the year, and I think that's the point you're trying to allude to. I wouldn't try to pinpoint September or October. Things just happen in September and October.
Okay. Right. People in the chat are actually asking what happened. So for anybody who missed it, we got another 75 basis points up. There was an announcement. Yeah, there was an announcement by the Fed yesterday, which is like their quarterly meeting or monthly meeting or whatever, and they said rates are going up again, just a little bit. What's the total right now, Wales? 4 point something, 4.5?
No, the Fed funds rate is at 2 3/4 or something, 2 1/4.
Really? That low?
Yeah.
No way. I thought it was already at 4.
Oh no, they raised it to 3 1/4. I'm sorry, they raised it to 3 1/4.
Oh yeah, okay. This is why I got it wrong. This is what's probably stuck in my memory. He said 4.5 is the goal. That's what got stuck in my memory.
He said that for Q4 they're trying to raise 100 to 125 basis points. So
nice.
But again, you know, the objective isn't that. It's to get the market to the point where they can do that. This is what people need to understand. He's just talking. Right. But the market is reacting to what he's saying. And that's the point. Because without him talking and you know, saying all these things that are going to get people to react, you know, there's no reaction. There's no nothing. And that's important to comprehend.
This is where we are right now. This is a little bit old, so we are like here somewhere. So the last one is not on the chart. Oh look at that! The man, the myth, the mystery. Pika joined us. Hello.
Hey, Pika.
What up, bro?
We have been since 2009, since they tried to save the economy. The interest rates were practically zero, so it's just flatlined. Beep. We died it, and then we are raising them slowly now. And the latest ones, they have been a little bit more extreme, so to say, with 5 and 0.75% raises. But this is what I was talking about earlier. Like if you look at it in general, in comparison to 20% in the 1980s, and even then like 10%, 8% here until 2000s or so, before the big crash in 2008, 2009, it was still around 5%. Right, so comparatively, we are super low.
Pika/WexHailBot, so very nice to meet you in the video, in the visual. You're an amazing genius with the apex.win site. Brilliant. People are actually using it now for the interface to do their staking
service
as
to
well.
The community.
Very great. And now that the colors are back, yes. And you may be doing also a can I let the cat out of the bag, what we were discussing one-on-one, the possibility, the further prayer that I have is that the next chart is separated when PulseChain comes out, not aggregated but actually separated, so you can see your two different staking strategies at the same time.
Look at this guy. Got the captain himself here with us.
Hey guys, I'm not in uniform today. I'm over here at the park for batting practice. I thought I'd jump in real quick.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on. I didn't even recognize you, dude. So
I figured.
Yeah. So how you been, man?
I've been good. Just out doing the family thing right now. Trying to steal a few minutes with some Hexicans.
I appreciate it, dude. Appreciate it. So I was talking about kind of the death of our economy, dude, and what's going on, and just like the sickening things that we're seeing. And you know, I know you're fighting for a lot of things right now. That's good. But what is your feeling like, just in general, on what you're seeing? And I know we could talk for hours on it, but
yeah. Well, it's not doom and gloom. It's about cycles, and we've always got to remember that look, money doesn't just disappear. Economies just don't go away. Human beings always just need something to do. Unfortunately, lately we haven't had a lot to do. I mean, people, oh, we shouldn't be going to the moon. We shouldn't be doing this. Hell yes, we should.
Yeah.
You know, why? Because it gives us something to do. You know, that's what fleas are for, to give dogs something to do. And look, man, we're floating around this big blue rock out here. We just got to do stuff. And money doesn't disappear. So it's just been gummed up for a while. And now we need to release it out to everybody and let everybody get more prosperous. So as far as the economy goes, it'll come back.
Yeah.
It's just going to take it. I've seen this, you know, time and time again. I've been around for, you know, many decades. And I've seen it come, seen it go, seen it come, seen it go, seen it come, seen it go. And right now it just went. And it's going to take a little bit, but it'll come back. There's no doom and gloom scenario. There's no zombie apocalypse coming. It ain't over with yet, folks. It's just going to take some time, and the pump needs to be primed. You know, the pump's kind of like right now it's in that empty mode, trying to get back going. Yeah. So, in my opinion, I always think these things like going to Mars and going to the moon are catalysts for new innovations, new technologies, people to go out and do stuff and make things work, make things happen. And that's what put money in all of our pockets when people are out there working, you know. Not everybody can just be an investor class right off the bat or you know, just decide that that's what they're going to do. They're going to be an investor class. You know, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes work. And you're going to have to get out there and build your own wealth and how you do it, whether you're an entrepreneur or somebody who's working. You know, you still got to go and do the work. So that's all, man. It's just going to take people out there priming the pump and getting things going, putting people back to work. And the next bull run will be here, and we'll all be like, what bear market?
I know. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, man. Like, we should be preparing for that, right? Like
exactly.
Looking forward to something exciting, because people don't understand the magnitude of, like, this is going to be probably the biggest bull run ever, and people won't even get it. Like, because people are dropping out now, right? RG, I mean, people are just like, I'm done. I can't do this, and then they're going to miss it.
Yeah, almost did in 17. I was so disillusioned with the market, with the crypto space, that I was ready to dip out, man. I was going to cash it all in and go. If it wasn't for Richard saying, hey, I'm going to do something, guys. If it wasn't for him saying that, I'd have been gone. I'd have walked and went and tried to do something else.
Yeah.
And spun my wheels in real estate or whatever it was out here that was the next thing that was going to happen. But no, Richard said he was going to do it. So I trusted in that because I believed in him. And, well, son of a bitch, here we are.
That's right, man. That's right.
Here we are.
So you're at the softball or baseball fields. What are you doing?
I'm at the baseball field. I have a 6-year-old that plays t-ball.
Oh man!
But they don't play t-ball anymore. They're pitching to them with machines now, man. It's like,
really, it's not on the tee.
They fling the pitches at them, and then if they don't hit it after like 5-6 tries, then they let them hit it off the tee. But no more t-ball. It's straight up their pitch to these kids.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's a machine, of course, but they're freaking humming that thing. I don't know if I could hit it.
Yeah. The old eye-hand coordination. It's not like it used to be for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. So I did that. I moved the machines into sea containers and shipped them out to China in the 90s. We had nothing but sea containers at our yard, and we were loading them up with machines. And in fact, I'll tell you a quick cool story. So there's a very high-end sprinkler maker back in the 90s that made sprinklers. You would all know their name if I said it, but I won't. I took them a new machine, a very, very intricate machine that made these small sprinklers that were just coming out. They were bubblers, they called them, and they made these really small sprinkles. And I took them the machine, and a month later I went back and they said, hey, we're shipping this whole thing to China. Yeah, it's cheaper for us to make them in China. So I said, okay. So I put the machine on the truck. It went to China. A couple months later, I come back. I'm unloading the truck coming back from China. And I said, what happened? He said, well, we shipped everything to China. We put all the dies together. We sent it all out there, and I went to go inspect it and have them run production. And when I went there, and he said, and they had no qualms about it. They walked me right through the warehouse, and all of his product was made already in production and going out the door and being loaded into trucks. And they took him and they had machines running all over the place making his parts. And he went in the back and they showed him his one machine and his prototype and everything and said, okay, here you go. Get started. But they were already selling the man's product. So what happened was after that in 2005, 6, 7, 8, we started seeing all that stuff coming back from China and back from Mexico, back into California. And everything started rolling again, and a lot of those deals were squashed. And for the U.S. Based companies anyway, they stopped doing that. They brought it all back. Why? Because China had ate their lunch and had already done their own thing, and we didn't have a lot of our companies involved out there. But what we need to be looking at is these higher end jobs. There needs to be not just there's different places in the world that can have a lower paid working class. But here in the United States, I think we need to change the production quality of what it is that we're doing and make better products and pay better wages. Correct. Because that's what's going to be needed. There's going to be
you need a better profit margin to do better wages. That's the problem, because that cost gets passed on to the consumers, and costs are already rising to a point where middle class can't even afford it. So there's a balancing act that goes with that.
Well, not that, capitalism for the rich connects, right? Because capitalism for the rich, and if these companies held on to future yield that goes up into the right, they would have the utility and liquidity to pay people what they're worth. For example, that whole clean coal epidemic. You think any of those guys want to go into a coal mine to get black lung when they could be trained to build solar panels, circuitry, all the rest of that? They're not ignorant because where they exist in the world. They just didn't have the opportunity due to their caste and location to learn these things.
Yep. Bingo. It's very important to understand that, because that's one of the dynamics that U.S. manufacturers are dealing with right now. Like, even if we were a startup, let's say, for example, we were to start a company that say, hey, we're going to make the next best battery or whatever we want to make. Unless we're like a carbon neutral company and we're focused on the green agenda, we're not going to get the funding. Mm-hmm. Like the bankers have this, from the federal, from the inside of the policymakers, they're saying that, like, unless you're a carbon neutral company, and you're not going to invest into like reducing any of your expenses of you're not going to get the funding. And so that's the challenge in itself. So I think that's important to keep in mind as the United States move forward and tries to shift back to a manufacturing company. These policies that they are instituting with the green agenda, they don't coexist with a manufacturing country. They're eliminating that clause here naturally because of the policies they're implementing. If I was a business owner, if let's say, for example, that I had $1 million and I was willing to invest that $1 million in infrastructure in my company, would I be doing it here in the United States when I know that they're pushing forward all these labor policies and all these environmental policies? I probably wouldn't. I'd probably say, you know what, maybe it's better for me just to close shop and have a nice day. And I think that's what we're witnessing here in the United States. And that's why I think there's a lot of manufacturing.
But the innovators will survive.
Oh, absolutely. That's what entrepreneurs
people that
are.
do make a safer
solvers.
Workplace.
3D printing. They will. Yeah.
That's what you need.
But
innovation.
But I worry about when people say we need higher wages for people because costs of everything are going up. But it becomes a feedback loop. Where, okay, so I as a company have to pay higher wages, and then that person, and it trickles down.
And increases unemployment. Here's the problem with what's happened over the last 4 years is that CEO salaries have gone up over thousands of %.
Yeah,
and we're not saying anything about those guys, but we're saying something about the workers.
I'm saying something about those guys. Are those guys really?
But that's what I'm saying. I don't hear that narrative being spoken about.
Well, that's where Dow's going to come in for lunch too.
And the shareholders. The shareholders, when I worked for a big corporation, one of the biggest corporations on the planet, their bottom line, our mission was to provide value to the shareholder, not to provide a service, which we were a service-oriented company, But our number one mission was to provide value to the shareholder. We were beholden to the shareholder.
The same thing that Big Pharma is like the last 2 years. Like Big Pharma has no obligation to your health, your well-being, your mental state of mind. All it cares about is shareholder profit.
And that's why the CEO gets the salary that they get.
They pay
It's part of it. Absolutely. It is.
Yeah, that was the times.
But here's the other side of that coin, though. You got to think about both sides of the coin, because you got both sides of the coin and then you've got the center. Is if you don't think about the capital investors, the shareholders, they don't get the funding to create the business in the first place. So you've got, again, you've got a balancing act here, just as I go back to originally.
What that
but it has been been shifted to the greed side, and that's why we're in the position that we're in.
There has to be companies, I think, that are going to do really well, especially in the eyes of the social movements, are going to be the ones that are trying to do it the most ethically and morally possible way of doing businesses. I think so. I think more people are waking up to that. Like more people are waking up to just how crooked Apple really is, and the slavery they have in China to create these iPhones and iPads, and the rare earth metal strip mining that they're doing to get these rare earth metals, and people are waking up to that. So I agree. There has to be. It's a balancing act, man. It really is. It's a balancing act.
Yep.